Hi, I want to talk to you about something called seduction. Okay, I don't know how many people are skilled at it, or how many people know much about it, but I think I know a little bit that you might want me to share with you. So if you don't, I'm going to do it anyway, if you listen and if you pay attention. And it's not just seduction in your dating world, but it's in your life. So think about this, okay? What's the one decision that you're going to make in your life that's going to determine your future mental health, happiness, and well-being more than any other decision you're going to make? Well, I'm waiting. The guy way in the back over there. Yeah, right. Well, that decision is who you're going to choose to marry. Or to put it another way, who you choose to enter into a long-term, committed, monogamous relationship with. If you get that decision wrong and you end up with the wrong person, then that's going to cause you more unhappiness and distress than any other decision in your life. In fact, it's going to be so bad that you might as well get a season ticket to a psychiatric clinic. Okay, all right. Keep it down out there. All right. Pick that guy off the floor that's hysterically laughing over there. Get him back up. All right, thanks. Now, the survey data suggests that around the world, 99% of the population desire a single, committed, monogamous, long-term relationship. 99%. Wow. It's something that everybody wants. So how do you get that decision right is extremely important. There are many different aspects of that decision to discuss. We could talk, for example, about how do you know when you meet the right person? But because it's a big and complicated subject, I'm just going to focus on one aspect in the short time we have. I've got to talk to you today, and that aspect is going to be how to seduce. All right? So here we go. Hold on to your shorts. I became interested in the subject when I had a moment of an epiphany. I was talking to a young lady who was pretty depressed, and all of a sudden, she announced in the middle of this talk that we were having, she says, I don't need an anti-anxiety med. I don't need Prozac. I need a boyfriend. And I thought, I said, well, boy, look how time flies. I gotta go and check my car. I think I'm double parked. It was at that moment that I realized that more success in relationships would go a long way to improving people's happiness. That if we could help people improve their relationships and how they conduct relationships, it can go a long way into improving even their mental health. So I got interested in the subject of seduction. I just start reading about it and reading more about it and thinking about it, and how I thought I seduced, if I seduced at all. So now it's very important you understand that my interest in the science of seduction was, at that point, was kind of academic and, a little scientific, and I really had no personal interest in the subject. BS. Of course I did. So I think seduction is very important. And it's actually goes to the heart of huge amounts of human happiness. Believe it or not, you see people and you talk about things, from an everyday life, what they want from life and the world, and what are they getting, what are they not getting, and they're really frustrated. People today are really frustrated. They may want a date, they may want a Ferrari in a garage, Or they may want $1 million in their bank account. I mean, who doesn't, right? Then always I hear what they want and what they're not getting. What they don't say is what they need to give in order to get what they want. Interesting, isn't it? You kind of got to give something to get something. So you see, at the heart of life is a transaction. You can get what you want from the world and life, but you have to be able to give something back to the world because the world wants something back, and you need to give it first. I'm going to let you into a little secret that all of the most highly effective people on the planet already intuitively know that it is that life is a seduction. We need to seduce the world and the people in it and seduce life into giving us the things that we want. Anyone can be more seductive. Really, anybody can be more seductive. It doesn't really matter how you look or how cool you are. Well, maybe a little bit, okay? A smidgen, all right? Poquito, for the ones out there that are listening in Spanish. My translator's working there, right? Okay. All right. It doesn't really matter how hot you look and are. I find that most people seem to have rather low self-esteems. And, they do. And it only takes a couple of minutes after talking with them, and you could see it. I mean, it's kind of written all over them, and that's so sad. They kind of think, I can't really be seductive. How am I going to do that? What's really amazing about the social psychology of seduction is what it says. Anyone can become more seductive. And indeed, some of these tips are so powerful, you can leap ahead even in the hottest person that you know or the coolest member of your social group you're hanging with and become more seductive than them. How about that one? Wow. We can divide relationships into 3 key phases: attention, interest, and maintenance. You walk into a bar. You see a very attractive person. Wow. I mean, man, they got your breath. Okay? And you're trying to recover it, and you got to breathe like 3-4 times to get it back. They've got your attention. Hopefully, you got their attention. Then you walk over and talk to them. You get to know them, and you're entering the interest phase. That's the interest part of that phase. Okay? Then, maybe after a few days or weeks, you might transition into the maintenance phase, which is a long-term commitment. Now, the key point about this idea, of this idea is that different skills are required depending on which phase you're in. Okay, so remember that. So you need kind of a different skill set depending on where you are. It's a profoundly important social psychological model in terms of getting a handle on and understanding, for instance, business relationships, friendships, and of course, our favorite, boys and girls, the romantic seduction. Even if you want to reject the attention, interest, and the maintenance phase, it's a very powerful model to have, really. And I really think you should consider it. Consider those 3 things when you're heading in the direction of someone that you think you might want to have a relationship with. It's really powerful. We all know people who we think, something like this is, this is a wonderful person. How come they're single? Do you ever wonder about somebody like that? Or you're looking at their profile and, man, they look like, they just walked out of some Hollywood studio or something, and here they are on a dating site, and the profile says, never been married? What? So the model is really helpful in diagnosing problems in terms of seduction. Another point I want to make is, even if you end up in a long-term committed relationship doing the maintenance, okay, if your relationship is going to be successful and last like 40 or 50 years, I believe you got to cycle back through attention, interest, and maintenance. You're going to be consistently cycling through in a long-term relationship, getting your partner's attention again, getting them interested in you again. And that constant cycling means that life and even long-term committed relationships are a long-term seduction. And they are. You know, people want to know they're desired, and they want to know that you're working. Man, you're working hard at getting them to want you. You know, life is a seduction. Even in long-term marriages are a seduction. And the attention, interest, and maintenance model is really helpful in understanding that. So hang on to those three: attention, interest, and maintenance, you know. Perhaps the most expert exponent of attention, interest, and maintenance was a guy, you'll recognize his name when I lay it on you. And who knows anything about this guy other than his reputation? Casanova. Not in the least, because Casanova was he was brilliant at attention, interest, but he sucked at maintenance. He really did. You know, there was no maintenance with him, and it was attention, interest, bingo, on to the next one. But Casanova was a real figure. He lived in the 18th century area of Italy called Venice. He was an adventurer and a nobleman, and is said to be perhaps the most successful seducer of women in history. And he's got the final tip I want to give you at the heart of the secret of seduction. Well, did I get your interest now? I know, I can feel you jonesing, even over here. You see, many people think that Casanova would walk into a bar in the 18th century Venice area, see an attractive member of the opposite sex, and nail her just like that, with maybe a little interest, a little fast talk, seductive talk. Okay, but actually that wasn't true. No, my pretties, no. He would walk into a bar, and he would see an attractive woman, but then he would spend many months courting her, as was the courtly custom of the day, before being finally successful. And there is, by the way, an important lesson for us all. If you go into a bar tonight and function like that, I'm afraid to tell you that's not really a seduction. A seduction is when you meet someone who is disinterested in you, or only moderately interested, and you convert that interest into rabid desire. Oh, baby, that's seduction. And the problem with the modern world, and, you know, like websites, Tinder, POF, OkCupid, Match, all those dating sites, is that they kind of do away with the whole seduction idea. And we are losing the skill of seduction with very ominous social implications, in my opinion. The story is that Casanova walks into a bar one night, and this is how the story goes. This is supposedly a true story. Okay, well, he sees this gorgeous woman. Okay, well, turns out she's an actress, physically smoking, very desirable, falls immediately in love with her, desires her. The actress, beside being physically stunning, has an interesting characteristic. You see, she has a speech impediment, a lisp. We know what the lisp sounds like, right? Anyway, I don't want to do, an impression of that, so Keep it in your mind. She can't say words properly that have the letter R in them. R is in Robert in them. Without really interacting with the actress, Casanova turns on his heels, goes home, and does a mysterious thing. He spends the next 3 days and nights writing a play. He does. And this play has a very special feature to it. It has no words in it with the letter R. 3 days later and nights later, he returns to the bar, presents the play to the actress, and the seduction is successful. Are you getting it? But here's my question for you. You see, what Casanova could have done, he could have said, I can't help noticing that you have a bit of a speech impediment there. I'll tell you what. I'll pay for elocution lessons that speech therapy, okay, with a speech pathologist that we call today. Back then it was a little different. I'll buy you the therapy. No one can deny that speech therapy is going to be more pragmatically helpful to the poor actress than a play that has no words in it with the letter R, right? However, it's the play that's the seductive move. It's the play that's sexy. Well, why is that? Well, let me tell you. Let's look at it between the lines. So what you're really saying when you offer someone a speech therapy lesson is there's something wrong with you. It needs fixing. After it's fixed, then I'll have a relationship with you. And you'll be restored to 1,000% a smoking woman. That's not a very sexy message. But guess what? It's kind of what we're saying to a lot of people a lot of the time. What does a play with no words with the letter R say? Well, what it says is don't change a thing. You're as perfect as you are. And my job is to help the world recognize the perfection that I see. That is a sexy message. The other thing the play does is this. It's terrifically specific. The actress knows that Casanova is interested specifically in her. A lot of young men going on a date, they go to the gas station because they left in a hurry. At the last minute, they go get some gas, and while they're in paying the tab, they grab some gas station flowers. Those flowers are always laying around. They might look a little limp, but it's better than walking in with nothing, right? And they present the gas station flowers to their date with a grand gesture. My lovely, look what I brought for you. Well, that gesture is kind of not the greatest, and somewhat perplexed. The date is less than overwhelmed. She's like, "Oh, yes, I better put them in water. They haven't been watered in about a week." With the presentation of the gas station flowers, they're just, really? As some people say, really? You see, you can't go to a gas station and buy a play off of the shelf. You can't do it. I mean, Casanova couldn't walk in and say, you got any of those plays that take about 3 days and 3 nights to write that have no letter of R inside of it? So the actress knows that Casanova was so interested in her and no one else. It's specific. But here is the final point and the most profound message in terms of the psychology of seduction. What Casanova has done brilliantly is, and here's the key, the catchphrase, you need to remember, okay? Remember this. He's filled the unmet need. The actress has an unmet need for parts that have no words with the letter R. And Casanova diagnoses the unmet need and meets it more completely than it's ever been met before. If you find someone's unmet need and fill it in a way that's never been filled before, you will be successful in seducing them. So your mission is a two-pronged attack. You got to find out the unmet need, first of all, okay? And then you got to fill it in a way that's never been filled by anyone before. There you go. I can sense immediately that you have a lot of questions. Like, wow, how do I do that? How do I find it? How do I find the unmet need? And when I do find it again, how do I fill it? I know this has been long, and I really apologize that it went this long and it took this long. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to answer all those questions. Really not. I gotta, have some kind of a boundary how long these things go, and it's gone way too long already, and I apologize for that. But I wanted to get the message out to you guys. So, is it possible that leaving you wanting more is kind of a seduction? Oh, I think it is. So there you go. Do you get it? Well, do you? Thanks very much.